Okay. So you are in the chapter 14, three modes of material nature. Okay, before that, let us do our Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshumitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrabhyascha Kripa Sindhabeva cha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschaltesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. So let us begin. So we have come to chapter 14. So what are we? We are in the Jnana Yoga section. So here, among the 5 topics which was dealt in Bhagavad Gita, about the Ishvara, that is the controller about nothing, about the Supreme Lord, then about the Jiva, about the conditioned soul. What is the interaction and why we have come here, why we have got conditioned, and what is the difference? We are the soul and not the body. We learn more about the Jiva, right? And then we also karma. That was the first 6 chapters about the activities of the Jiva. And then we looked at the time of the Kalosmi, where the Lord says, I'm Kalosmi. Everything works as per his plan. So nothing. So each Deva, when it comes, he comes with a particular duration, or depending on his karma, right? And then now this Prakriti. So last chapter, it was started off with Arjuna asking 6 questions about Prakriti, Purusha, Nyayam, then so I think that 8 questions. Then what is knowledge and how we get entangled here. So these were the questions which I think. So, and we are guna sangha. So because we got attached to this material world, that is why we are suffering. So that's how it happened. Because we have come with a material body, right? Gross body. And our mind is also subtle body is there. And this material energy, that gets influenced by the material energy, which is from the Lord, right? So, like the animals, so they are as per the law of nature, because their body, they have no free will or no consciousness. Their conscious level is not as high as the human beings. So they are completely as per the law of nature, their body. But we are the Satchitananda. So we have a little bit of free will and little of Satchitananda, little of the superior energy we have. So we are able to have a choice how we handle this material body, right? Material. So here in this chapter, the Lord is going to talk about how the living entities are conditioned, and he gives a different, what he call, a model of explanation. He talks about the modes of nature, material nature, modes. Sattva guna, rajas guna, I think. So using that model is describing how we are getting entangled in this material. Okay. So in the first four verses, it talks about the liberation, conditioning of the living entity. And in next four verses, it describes the binding of the pure soul by the three modes. How it is binded in the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Then from 10 to 13, it talks about the recognizing the supremacy of a mode within a person. That person doesn't, it might predominantly be one particular mode and not in the other modes. So how the modes get supremacy. Then actions and depth within the modes and transcending the modes. Okay. It's a very simple chapter, 27. It's easily we can relate to it because it's our nature, how we are, right? And how people around us also we can see them. So that way in this chapter is very simple. The blessed Lord said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained to supreme perfection." Even in the last chapter, he talked about how if we know the knowledge, how we are getting conditioned by the material and thing, and how we can come out of that, we can get liberated. So here also he's telling it's the best of all knowledge. Because why best? Because you are getting more and more understanding. And it is knowing which all sages have attained to supreme perfection. So the sages also have understanding this relationship. Once you understand how you're getting entangled in this material world, what happens? You know how to behave, how to change your lifestyle, how to change your thing. Because once you're getting this. And here in this picture, what you will see is King Nimi is doing yajna and 9 Yogendras have come yes, to attend this yajna. Actually, they are the sons of Rishabhadev, King Rishabhadev, and they have taken to live, what do you call, sannyas, and they have come and in the 11th canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, chapters 2 and 5, they give the wisdom to the King Nimi. He asks how we get entangled here in this world and how, especially in Kali Yuga, how it happens. And so each one of them discusses and gives them. Yeah, it's very nice, interesting chapter. You can all have, when you all have time, you please go through it also. It's very interesting. So by becoming fixed in this knowledge, what happens? One can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. So, see, this can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Even throughout Bhagavad Gita, we are learning this, isn't it? Even in 8th chapter, he says, if you remember the time of death, you will attain my nature. So that is, everywhere he's talking about liberation, how to come out of this. You have to be manmana bhava mad bhakto. See, all the time, remember me, worship me, and devoted and fixed in devotional service. Even in chapter 4, he says what? He says, if you understand the his appearance and disappearance is a transcendental. Once you understand that, and we are fixed in that knowledge, many people, many personalities have got liberated. So he is giving us the path. How do we do? And every time he's talking about it, and this is instructions are there, and we need to understand. He says, thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. So we know that there are three kinds of annihilation. One is we leave this body and again take another body, that's one time. Another one is when the Lord Brahma, when he once is the night comes out, during the night of Brahma, the whole material world gets annihilated and goes back. All the living entities are back in the womb of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And when the day of Brahma comes, then everything comes back into a manifestation, right? And then the last end of the Brahma's life, the whole world gets, the whole cosmic universe gets annihilated. And all the living entities were still there. They all go back to the womb of Garbhodaksha. So he says this, you don't have to be born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution, right? So this is the thing. You have to, what is this knowledge? Knowledge is about the how we are related to this material world. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Pukti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and I am the seed-giving father. Sarva yonishu kaunteya, murtaya sambhavatiya, tas anam brahma mahad yonir aham bija pradapata. So I am the preacher. So he is the seed-giving father. That means actually he is the primary creator and secondary creation is Brahma, Lord. Okay. So when he gives, as per the blueprint, the Lord Brahma will give us the particular body we have. And that depends upon our capacity to enjoy the desires. We have certain desires, and no, with that only we have come to this material world to enjoy our desires, fulfill our desires. So depending on that, you get the particular body. Okay. Depending on what desires we have and what karma we have done. So according. So seed giving father. So he is the one who plants it in that particular body, which is being given told by the Lord and Brahma. So this is the I am the seed giving father. So how he going to explain. So we know how we have come, that is there, and why we have come. And he says once we know this knowledge, we can get free from this creation and annihilation. Okay. So what is this knowledge is giving to us? Sattvam rajas tamaiti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibananti mahabaho dehi dehinam avyayam. So material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Guna means actually is a rope, the mode of nature. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. That is, he will have this nature. You may think that is that the soul when it is born, it means it has no nature at all. And then once it starts growing, it develops its nature. No, it's not like that. You come with certain particular nature from your previous birth. That's the subtle body which you carry. That is the influences. That is the things which you carry with you, the desires and your karma reactions and all that, and what type of the nature predominant you had, you come with that. And that when you take birth here, that subtle body comes with you, right? So, and how we understand is, see, like in a family, there'll be 4 or 5 siblings, right? Not all siblings will have the same nature. They have the same parents, they'll be brought up in the same environment, and the facilities are on them. But still, their nature will be different. One will be very much sober, likes to read and think, well as another child will like to do a lot of sports, jump around, and he will be attracted to a particular kind of friends he'll have. So their natures are different, right? How does it happen? It's not by genes or anything. It is by the what you carry from your previous birth. So there, and it is distinguished as goodness, passion, and ignorance. So there, I mean, you can make out from passion will be very active. No, he can't restless. He'll be thinking. Whereas ignorance doesn't want to like do anything. Doesn't want to take any decision. He wants to just float around. Whereas the goodness will be try to be rational, discriminate, and they'll be try to be in that mode. So when he comes into contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. So because we are in this material energy, we get conditioned. And okay. And it will be natures will be of different type, right? I mean, here also you can describe all that, even the nature's environment around, and also we can give this way of description. How is the entity is conditioned or controlled? It's eternal living entity, is transcendental. But you need actually Jiva as a soul is a transcendental. But once he comes into this material nature, it has got three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the forced is act according to these modes. He might not know, realize, but he'll be acting in that particular way, that particular nature. Okay? He might not know, but that becomes like a habit. How he gets, that is okay. And now the Lord is going to explain more about these particular each mode to give an understanding so that we'll be able to identify them. Nature of the soul is transcendental, Satchitananda. So, Tatra Sattvam Nirmalatvat Prakasakam Annamayam Sukha Sangena Badnati Gnana Sangena Chanaga. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than the others is illuminating. Illuminating means because it will be more of knowledge. And it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. Let's see the Prabhupada says, very nice, the purport. Anybody would like to read? Hare Krishna. The living entities. Hare Krishna. Indra Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Mm.
Hare Krishna.
Mm.
The living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status in nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in the section of Bhagavad Gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type in the Brahmana in the Brahmana who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from the sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced to knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientists and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This happiness of advanced happiness, sense of advanced happiness is conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted towards working in the mode of goodness. And as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to make some type of body in the modes of nature. Take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred into the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to illusion of material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant.
So it's
Hare
very
Krishna.
clear here. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So the mode of goodness is not affected by the material miseries because he has got is advanced in the material knowledge. Okay, so he is able to handle the situation. And this happiness, and if he's quite comfortable in that zone, right? More and is free from sinful reaction because he know what's it right and what is wrong. So he is able to avoid sinful reactions. Okay, so because of that, he'll be in that particular mode of goodness because he has and he'll have a greater sense of happiness also, right? And the Prabhupada gives the examples like scientists and philosophers. They are very but only problem is because they have advanced in knowledge and compared to the others, they will become very proud of their knowledge. And their living conditions also is quite better because of that. And they're bound by the, but still because of this, they're so proud and of their knowledge, and they're quite comfortable in their happiness and satisfied. So they will think this is their life. So they get bound, attached to this world. Because they are attached to that thinking. No, this is the life, and this is the way of to live. So and so there's no. That's why, because of that, there is no likelihood of liberation, or because they don't go beyond that, they get stuck in that platform, right? And so Prabhupada writes, they will repeatedly may become a philosopher, scientist, and they will become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death, because they think that this is life is pleasant. Okay, so this is how they get conditioned by the concept of happiness, and this is the way of life. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Buddhi. And because of this, one is bound to material fruitive activities. Rajo ragatmakam viddhi, trishanga sanga samudbhavam, tad nivadanti kaunteya karma sangena dehi. So they are stuck in that. So they have lot of things, desires, by attraction between man and man. That is the strongest attraction. Women has attraction for man, and man has attraction for women. This is called mode of passion. But when the mode of passion is increased, one develops hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. So that desires will never get fulfilled. For sense gratification, a man in mode of passion wants some honor. So he doesn't stop with that. He wants some honor in the society or in the nation. He wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife, and house. So these are the products of mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, what will he do? He will work very hard. He has to work very hard because he has to get all these things. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities and thus become bound by the such act. Because once desire want to stop, you want to do more, and you want to do more for his children, more for the country, or more for the society. So it keeps on going there. So his activities will keep on increasing and things. In order to please his wife, children, society, and keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole world is more or less in this mode of passion. And everything, no, if you see all this management thing, courses, and everything is to put you in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of mode of passion. In fact, in Satyuga and all, it was more, predominantly, it was mode of goodness. But now we are in Kali Yuga, isn't it? So here, formerly the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in mode of goodness, what to speak of those who are entangled in mode of passion? So this is how they get entangled in these fruitive activities, because they have a lot of desires. So in order to fulfill that, they keep on bound with the fruitive activities. What do the people in mode of madness, ignorance? O son of Bharata, the mode of ignorance causes delusion of all living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditions. So what they do, they don't want to take any decisions. They don't want to, they just sleep money, they'll be in not much of activity. So they won't, and they wouldn't endeavor like the people in passion. Okay. And that is because of avidya. They are in ignorance. Specific application of this. This means the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. Okay. Anybody else would like to read? Rita Mataji, the mode of ignorance. Prabhakar Naidu is not there. Prabhakar Naidu, Prabhuji, you can read the mode of ignorance. Have anybody else volunteer?
Shall I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Sheila Mataji, go ahead.
In this verse, the specific application of the word tu is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what, but The mode of ignorance is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance becomes mad, and a mad man cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature: Vastu Yatatmya Jnana Jnanavarakam
Viprayaya Jnana
Viprayaya
Jnana Janakam Tamaha.
Tamaha. Thank you, Madhu. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceives will also die. So death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy when they are invited to associate for special understanding. They are not much interested. They are not even active like man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptom of one embodied in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleeps at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance.
So here Prabhupada clearly gives the explanation. Like, when you say they're lazy to associate for spiritual understanding. They don't have time for that. They think they have time only for their material engagements, sense gratification. So they don't want to, they're reluctant to make any advancement in the spiritual understanding. Okay. And they're mad because madness is explained here clearly. They'll keep on accumulating money. One example, working hard all day and night, not caring for the eternal spirit. Why they have come, they don't care for the what purpose they have come. They'll be just doing this. So they are in ignorance of spiritual path. Okay. Then, so this is explained here. Goodness conditioning is how it binds the living entities because it's conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. And the best examples were scientist, philosopher, and poet. And what happens? Because why they're happy, they're more or less free from sinful action. They know what is what and also they're so, but there's no likelihood of liberation because of that conditioning. And who are the representatives? Brahmana represents moral goodness. How the 3 types of thing act? They are happy, whereas passion is a very active, ignorance are helpless. Okay. So then we saw this passion lives characterized by strong attraction by what is advancement of modern civilization is considered in the moral. This is what we saw. Anchoring one's honor in the society, nation, and things, and no chance of liberation. Okay, he's bound by the fruits of his work because he wants more and more, and his desires are not getting spoiled. Madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. These are the characteristics. It's just the opposite of mode of goodness. Okay, he doesn't know what is what clearly, what is to be done. And because he's always, and he'll be procrastinating things. Okay. And there's no chance of liberation. Right. So, Sattvam Sukhe Sanjati, Raja Karmani Bharata, Jnanam Avrati tu Tamaha, Pramade Sanjati Yuta. Mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions into the fruits of action. And ignorance to madness. Madness means because he simply keep on doing, he doesn't know what is what. He is in avidya. It's in ignorance. Now, so when we see that Do a person is all the time in mode of goodness, or is he also gets into mode of passion, or he gets into thing? That we can see also in our everyday life. No, morning when we get up, we'll be in the mode of Sattva, right? We'll be calm and things. And then when we start doing our responsibilities and this and that, we'll be more, maybe we will come into the mode of passion. And towards the end of the day, we might go down to the mode of ignorance. I mean, so this mode of, and certain situations now will be more active. You like to work and you want to get everything done fast, this and that. But in certain situations, no, you don't want to take any decisions. You want to just gloss over it. And certain situations will be a very rational way of thinking, and you will take some decisions properly, depending on the situation. So a person need not necessarily be in one mode only. He will be going through modes. So that's why Krishna is explaining in these verses, recognizing the supremacy of a mode within a person. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Bharata. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion, and other times the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there's always a competition for supremacy. Okay? This is what's happening. And it is fine. And we can always see even in our day-to-day life, right? Like Kamsa, no, first he was very mode of goodness. He wanted to take his newly married sister and brother-in-law to their palace. And on the way, when he comes to hear that he is going to be, his death is in the hands of the child of the mother, Devaki, then immediately he changes. He becomes demonic. He wants to kill his own sister. See, he was very in mode of goodness. And that was only a fleeting. Then again, he goes back to becoming a ignorance. There he doesn't even understand, think, oh, yeah, I'm going to kill my own sister. No, he's become mad. So when the mode of passion is prominent, mode of goodness are defeated. When the goodness is prominent, passion and ignorance are defeated. Ignorance is prominent, passion. So the competition is always going on. Therefore, one who is actually intent in advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. Prominence of certain mode of nature is manifested in one's dealing, in his activities, in eating, etc. You can see all this will be explained in later chapters, but if one wants to, he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the modes of ignorance and things. By practice, abhyasa. So if you consciously make up a habit of trying to be in the mode of goodness, at least you'll be defeating the modes of ignorance passions. One can similarly develop mode of passion, defeat goodness, or you can, depends in the way. Once you understand this science, then you can make a conscious effort to be in the mode of goodness. Okay. So if one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness, and transcending the mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness. That is the sattva guna, vasudeva state. In the state in which one can understand the science of God. So you from passion you can't. So if you're at least if you're in the mode of goodness, then there is a possibility of rising your conscious level to the Vasudeva state. That's why Prabhupada writes here, he can say which is called Vasudeva state in which one can understand the science of God. By manifestation of particular activities, it can be understood in what mode of nature one is situated. So this is the thing which the Lord Krishna is telling, that there's always be a competition for supremacy. He can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the mode of ignorance and passion by practice. So that is what we are trying to do by devotional service. By being in Krishna consciousness, what happens? We are trying to be in the, most of the time, to be in the mode of goodness. Manifestation mode can be experienced when all the gates of body are illuminated by knowledge. Okay? That means you know what is what, and so the knowledge illuminates you. Or chief of Bharatas. So how did the symptoms increase in the mode of passion? The symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, anchoring, intense endeavor develop. So these are the symptoms which we can make out from whether they are in the mode of passion. Okay, anchoring and the son of Guru. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. So how do we come to know? So here Krishna is telling us by these symptoms we can know whether we are in which type of mode, whether how inertia we have, madness we have got. So after telling us about the symptoms, then first he gave us the characteristics of different modes. Then he told us about the symptoms, right? Now he's telling what happens when actions and death within the modes. What happens at death to one predominated by a specific mode. By a specific. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. That is the result. If you are in the mode of goodness, it will be able to go to higher planets, right? So here we see Narada Muni is preaching to the sons of Daksha. Actually, Daksha is a Prajapati. He was given the responsibility by Lord Brahma to progenate, right? So yes, but before these sons, 10,000 sons, I think he had, before sending them for Grasta life, he sends them to, they had to go to Barachan, to Gurukul. So he had sent them to Narada. Narada Muni was preaching and he was telling that this is the best state, Vasudeva state. So they immediately, all of them, took the choice. They didn't want to go into Grahastha life at all. They immediately went to the sannyas life. They all went off to the forest for austerity. Okay. And Daksha was very unhappy. Again, when he sent 5,000 sons, again, Narada Muni instructed them, see, your elder brothers and all have gone like this. So, younger brothers, you have to follow what your elder brothers have done. So, they also went. So, it was made Daksha very unhappy and he actually cursed. So, mode of goodness, what happens? He attains to the pure higher planets. When one who dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities because he is attached to the fruitive activities, right? And if he dies in ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Okay. So, but people know they have a certain, some people understand, they think that once you have taken the human form, then you'll never go to down to the lower species of life. But that is not guaranteed. Here it is very clearly says how it depends upon our karma, how we are, but you can change your destiny. That's what Prabhupada says. No, by practice, you can try to be in the mode of goodness. So we can change, I mean, we can purify our desires. Desires should be there, will be there for our life. But the desires, if you can purify and try to be in the mode of goodness, then at least you can you won't have the fear of losing your human life, right? That facility which you have, which will help you to get liberated from this cycle of birth and death. So that is possible. So here, but people think that once you have come to human life, then there won't be a degradation. There will be if you are doing demonic acts. Okay. So that is, so here it's very clearly said, by acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Works done in the mode of passion result in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. So, the present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It's a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide easiest process. And Prabhupada writes Krishna consciousness to save humanity from the greatest danger. So this is where we are all being encouraged to be in the mode of passion. Hasil karo, hasil karo. And you see a lot of reality shows and this where everybody is in the mode of passion. But that will only result in distress because though it is happiness which you get is very short-lived because your desire is keep on increasing, no, your anchoring is increasing. Then you'll be again trying to endure more. So there is always be distress. And actions performed in mode of ignorance result in foolishness because you are not attracted to the Lord. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From mode of passion, grief develops. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develop. So once you realize this, then you really understand why it was important to be in the mode of goodness. And that you can do by trying to develop the knowledge, trying to understand this science, being in Krishna consciousness. Because Prabhupada very nicely writes in the purport, because people have no education in actual knowledge, they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. See how much he's so concerned, right? He says that education is not there because nobody talks about ethics. Nobody talks how to be in the mode of goodness, right? So he said developing the mode of goodness thing must be there, that education. So when they're actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. Because it might be difficult in the beginning, but in the long term, you have a happiness will be there, right? Then people will be happy and prosperous. Even if the majority of people aren't happy and prosperous, if a certain percentage of the population develops Krishna consciousness and becomes situated in the mode of goodness, then there is a possibility for peace and prosperity all over the world. So he says, I know people, Prabhupada is very realistic. He knows that, see, we have every month from our Prabhuji will be the level 1 courses are being announced and thing, but not many join, right? Even many join, they may not go to level 2. So or they are higher. They may not be in this platform all the time, right? So he says at least only few will be there percentage in B who will be focused on developing Krishna consciousness. But even that is enough because they can do the education. They can educate others. And how they will take, at least there will be some people to educate, right? We need that. So even if the majority of people are not happy and prosperous, at least certain percentage of population, if they develop Krishna consciousness and become situated in the mode of goodness, there is a possibility for peace and prosperity. So education for developing this mode must be there. So, I mean, that's how you see how Prabhupada writes in his purport. No, it's very, very simple and straightforward. Goodness. From goodness, real knowledge develops. Krishna consciousness helps society to develop mode of goodness. People can see things as they are, then can be in happiness, peace, and peace. From passion, what happens? Only greed develops. Greedy and always hankering for sense gratification without any limits. So he doesn't have happiness, no peace of mind. From ignorance, this is the thing, illusion, madness, and foolishness. So no knowledge, irresponsible, cannot see things as they are. Being distressed, they may take shelter of intoxication because they are in depressed. Urdhvam gacchati satvasta, madhya tishyati rajasa, jaganya gunavritti sta, adho gachanti tamas. Those who are situated in mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. In the mode of passion, they live on earthly planets. And those in the modes of ignorance go to the down to the hellish worlds. Otherwise, they be in this. So that's the reason. Now, how do you, okay, we understood all this, but we have to go beyond the modes of nature, right? Beyond the mode of goodness. How do you do that? That Krishna is explaining us in the, first he explained the characteristics, then he gave the symptoms, then he told us the results, what happens when they are at the time of death, what's the result of their actions. And now he's telling us how to come out of it, transcending this. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and the Supreme Lord is transcended to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So what is the purpose? Why we have to go beyond this modestness? Then, only then we can understand his spiritual nature. Then transcend, because Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes. Then you can know my spiritual. So if you are understanding this knowledge, transcendental knowledge, science, we need to go beyond that. Okay. Platform of real knowledge is the three most perform all methods. And to this. How one can transcend by understanding this science properly, by learning from proper souls, and who is real spiritual master is Krishna. Okay, right. So by understanding this science, and Krishna is our spiritual master, right? And by understanding this Bhagavad Gita, by going through this, we will be able to transcend. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar in this. See, if your hands are tied up like this, no, think only a person whose hands are not tied or who's liberated, he can come and help you to untie you, isn't it? So we need to go to take the guidance of a spiritual master who is liberated to get untangled. So it's very clear. Okay. So they say if you're mode of goodness, will be your chains will be made of gold, whereas for in passion it will be silver, and in ignorance the chains would be like iron. Okay. So they can become free from what is a result, birth cycle of birth and death. It's free from birth. These are the four miseries everybody has. Material birth, death, old age, and diseases. Okay. Arjuna, now, see, Arjuna listened to everything. Now, what he wants, oh, my dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior? How does he transcend the modes of nature? So he wants to know, okay, you told us to go beyond the modes, that is, beyond the, you have to come to board of goodness, you have to go to the Vasudeva state. Okay, that is transcendental. So then how do I know? Because only a person who is in liberated state can help us. We saw, right? So then at least to go to them, we should know their behavior, how he translates. So this is the question. So once he told everything and all that, then we should also know how to, the process of coming out of it. Okay? And who can help us? So that's what Arjuna now is asking these questions, how we can come out of that. Bless Lord said, he who does not hate elimination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear. That means he is not having any desire. His desire is only to be in devotional service. Okay, he wants only that. And even if there's something is there, he is not attached to it. And who seated like one unconcerned but situated beyond those material reactions of the modes of nature. He is firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards pleasure and pain same, looks on a cloud and sound and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same. This is very difficult, no? Praise and blame to be same. I mean, it doesn't get perturbed by whether one person blames him or whether he's praising him, is not perturbed. Who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike. That is also difficult. Who has abandoned all fruitive undertaking. Such a man is sent to transfer the modes of nature. See how the list the Lord is describing. Okay. One who engages in full devotion service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So what is he saying? To come out of that, we have to be in full devotional service. Chayo bhakti yogena sevate. Bhakti yogena sevate. Sa gunan samattityatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Only when you come, you will come to the level of Brahman. Okay? That is, you have to engage in full devotional service. As explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of the modes of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as Bhakti Yoga, always acting for Krishna. That's what he says, no? You do everything for me. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever thing, you do it for me. So once you take to Bhakti Yoga, what happens? Your consciousness is changed to such, then you can come out of these modes of nature. Includes not only Krishna, but is different. I mean, when you say acting for Krishna, doesn't mean only you can also, but is different plenary expansions such as Rama and Narayana. like Hanuman, no, love is always in bhakti with Rama. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any forms of Krishna or his preliminary experience is considered to be transcendental situate. So, and why is that? Because all forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge and eternal. So some people think, no, that ISKCON is only talking about Krishna and Krishna, but here Prabhupada writes, all forms of Krishna, preliminary expressions, such personalities of Godhead are omnipresent. Because there are some people now who are Vaishnavas, they only like to uh, worship Vishnu. They don't want to worship anything else. Like, they have only that or Narayana. So here it is clearly said, they're all, that activities are also transcendental because all forms of Krishna are fully transcendental and they possess all transcendental qualities. So if one engages himself in the service of Krishna with unfailing determination, because it's very difficult to come out of this, because he says, no, unless you surrender to me, you will not able to come out of this entanglement. In chapter 7, he talked to 7.14 easily. This has already been explained in 7th chapter. One who surrenders to Krishna at once summons the influence of material nature. To be in Krishna consciousness or devotional service means to acquire equality with Krishna. The Lord says that his nature is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, and living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme, as gold particles are a part of gold mine. So we have thing, but we are very small quantity. Okay. So Bhakti Yoga. So here very clearly it says, unless we take to Bhakti Yoga means that the Lord is there, devotee is there, and activity of exchange of love between Lord and devotee is there. That is what it's all about, devotional service. That is, unless we relate to the Lord through the devotional service, then only you can transcend this modes of nature. Okay. Come one. Done. Excuse me. Class ಅಲ್ಲಿ Okay. So you cannot serve. You can. So this is the way. Unless devotional service, you can. But people who are in devotional service also, you will be affected by the material nature. It's like, you're in a boat. So boat means when you're going on a boat, you're out of the water. You're not touching the water, right? But you're sailing in the boat. You're out of the water, but still the waves will have an influence on the boat, isn't it? You will be tossed on this by the waves. So even though you started in being the devotional service, but still because you are still in the material world, you will still be under their influence, but you need to practice. So Lord answers the method of thing. How to do it? Engages in full devotional service and failing in all circumstances. Then he can move. Then he comes to the level of Brahman. Okay. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Okay. So here is the impersonal. That is the Brahman realization. So devotional service is the safest position. It includes all the characteristics of Brahman realization. Is a reservoir. And when one understands this, he becomes, and it's full of 6 appearances. When a devotee approaches the Lord, there is exchange of 6 appearances. Thus, realization of Brahman like eternity, imperishability, and this are included in Bhakti. So this is a summary. All in nature as a desire to Lord. Why we came here? Though we have the nature of Satchitananda, we came because of a desire to Lord it over the thing. Because of a desire, we makes to think. And association with modes makes him desire to dominate the material world in different bodies. And how devotional service helps? Because it helps you to be in the transcendental position. His unlawful desire is control material nature is removed because he knows that's what has happened. So desire is changed towards whom? Towards the Lord. practicing the 9 process of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Sumastre. Thus, situated in Brahman, consumption becomes equal in quality to the, will attain the spiritual nature of the Lord. Okay. So, what did we look at? We looked at the 3 modes, Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna, and the race for prominence. We saw how they are not in one, they'll be big combinations. You can sometimes you'll be Sattva Guna prominent or Rajas. And what happens in action modes? Where do you go? We go to higher planets or to the lower planets, and purification from the modes. How? By devotional service. So we let us live in goodness. That is where we can try to connect everything to Krishna. Engage in direct bhakti yoga. So this is like, your lifestyle is being rechanged. So it depends upon our habits, how we are habituated. We can slowly change our habits. We can work on that and the fluctuation modes on how to trans. So if you take the key practical spiritual practice, the sadhana, which the Prabhupada has given us to be associated with the devotees, to keep reading books and scriptures, Vedic scriptures, taking to chanting, then deity worship, engage in work and eat prasadam. So simple living and thinking. Okay. So this concludes our